Hi, this is Manjula Narayan, books editor, Hindustan Times, and this is Bookstack, the weekly show where I pick the most interesting books I've got in the last 7 days or so. So this time, the books that I've got aren't exactly, they don't make me cheerful, but they're really interesting, though. So let's start with The Uninhabitable Earth, A Story of the Future by David Wallace Wells. Okay, and before I, kind of break down reading it, let me read the flap to you and you'll know what I mean. It is worse, much worse than you think. The slowness of climate change is a fairy tale, perhaps as pernicious as the one that says it isn't happening at all. And if your anxiety about it is dominated by fears of sea level rise, you are barely scratching the surface of what terrors are possible, even within the lifetime of a teenager today. Over the past decades, the term Anthropocene has climbed into the popular imagination, a name given to the geologic era we live in now, one defined by human intervention in the life of the planet. But however sanguine you might be about the proposition that we have ravaged the natural world, which we surely have, it is another thing entirely to consider the possibility that we have only provoked it, engineering first in ignorance and then in denial a climate system that will now go to war with us for many centuries, perhaps until it destroys us. In the meantime, it'll remake us, transforming every aspect of the way we live. The planet no longer nurturing a dream of abundance, but a living nightmare. So basically, it's a very bleak view of the future, which a lot of us share anyway, but David Wallace Wells has kind of given words to our fears, I guess. And just looking at the chapter headings and the subheadings, you get an idea of what the book is about. Elements of chaos, heat, death, hunger, drowning, wildfire, and then the climate kaleidoscope, which is chapter 3, talks about the crisis in capitalism, the church of technology. So these are all things that we're thinking about. Some of these chapters made me think of like the Robert Frost poem, Fire and Ice. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice, and that's the kind of poem that you keep thinking about when you think about climate change and what is going to happen and how it's going to happen and how it's going to affect humankind and the other species that live on this planet. So hey, that's it, a necessary book, I guess. But The Uninhabitable Earth, A Story of the Future by David Wallace Wells. And then from that book, we go on to Democracy Hacked by Martin Moore. So the subhead is Political Turmoil and Information Warfare in the Digital Age. So like if this is, chaos outside, this is clearly chaos inside in our heads, which we are also experiencing. Another thing that we are experiencing every day, with our constant connectedness and how tired it makes us feel and how fulfilled also, strangely, and perhaps how both these things are feeding into each other. So, so let me again read the back for this one. And since it is election season and, this book talks about how our election systems, the world's democratic election systems can be manipulated by forces which are very new. So let's read the flap. In the space of one election cycle, authoritarian governments, moneyed elites and fringe hackers figured out how to game elections, bypass democratic processes, and turn social networks into battlefields. Facebook, Google, and Twitter, where our politics now takes place, have lost control and are struggling to claw it back. Prepare for a new strain of democracy, a world of data-fied citizens, real-time surveillance, enforced wellness, and pre-crime, where switching your mobile platform will have more impact on your life than switching your government, where freedom and privacy are seen as incompatible with social well-being and compulsory transparency. This is the most frightening thing about it. As our lives migrate online, we have become increasingly vulnerable to digital platforms founded on selling our attention to the highest bidder. Our laws don't cover what is happening and our politicians don't understand it. But if we don't change the system now, we may not get another chance. So that is Democracy Hacked by Martin Moore. Political turmoil and information warfare in the digital age. Very interesting. I would definitely I live half my life online. At least I feel like that, even if consciously one doesn't spend much actual time you're thinking about things, so it feels like you're spending much longer than you actually are, and it has an effect on your behavior and your personality, how things that happen online. And so this is a book that has come at a very at the right time, and they it talks about hackers, system failures, alternative futures. So it's very interesting. Democracy Hacked, definitely on the must-read list, I'd say. So that's Martin Moore's Democracy Hacked. And here is The Verdict, Decoding India's Elections by Pranoy Roy and Dorab R. Sopariwala. Now everybody knows, today knows Pranoy Roy as NDTV, but an earlier generation started out knowing him as a psephologist, somebody who spoke about, who studied elections and presented it on TV. And it was almost the first interaction people had, very young Indians in the 80s had with the electoral system and the excitement of it. So The Verdict, Decoding India's Elections would be definitely very interesting, because anyway this is election season and all you can think about is elections now, So this is another timely book. What are the key factors that win or lose elections in India? What? We'll never know. It's a mystery. But well, psephology and studying elections tries to, I guess, get at that core. What does or does not make India's democracy tick? Is this the end of anti-incumbency? Are opinion polls and exit polls reliable? How pervasive is the fear factor? Does the Indian woman's vote matter? Does the selection of candidates impact results? Are elections becoming more democratic or less so? Can electronic voting machines, EVMs, be fiddled with? Ooh. Can Indian elections be called a jugaad system? Published on the eve of India's next general elections, The Verdict uses rigorous psephology, original research, and as yet undisclosed facts to talk about the entire span of India's electoral history from the first elections in 1952. Crucially, for 2019, it provides pointers to look out for to see if the incumbent government will win or lose. Written by Pranoy Roy, renowned for his knack of demystifying electoral politics, and Dorab R. Sopariwala, this book is compulsory reading for anyone interested in politics and elections in India, which is, I guess, all of us, So, and here again, I found it interesting, this Women Ahead chapter. Of course, one would want to read it. One would read that first maybe. And how to forecast India's elections. Forecasting 2019 looks about what to look out for. So that's another, and all these nice charts. Can you trust opinion polls in India? Big mistakes that global pollsters make. And all these, tables around. Very nice. So this is very interesting, and it comes at the right time, obviously. So there you have it. The Verdict, Decoding India's Elections. Okay, so those are the 3 books this week on Bookstack, and we'll have a quick kind of roundup of the books again. The Uninhabited Earth, A Story of the Future by David Wallace Wells. Frightening book. Democracy Hacked by Martin Moore. Political turmoil and information warfare in the digital age. That's what people are doing when they troll. So, warfare. Anyway, so that's Democracy Hacked by Martin Moore. Another very interesting, scary book. The Verdict, Decoding India's Elections by Pranoy Roy and Dorab R. Sopariwala. Right in time for the elections for 2019. So there you have it. Those are the books on Bookstack. See you again next week. This is Manjula Narayan saying bye.